to the 50s. Back in the 50s, we were drilling the Great Barrier Reef for petroleum. That was misinformation and disinformation spread through propaganda in our newspapers back then. It wasn't happening until the 60s, when they did a Royal Commission into it. Whilst doing the Royal Commission, they still drilled the Great Barrier Reef for petroleum. Moving forward, at the end of the 60s, they supposedly stopped. And then in the 70s and 80s, this magical thing happened. Global warming destroyed the Great Barrier Reef. And it went back to disinformation, misinformation, that it was drilled for petroleum in the first place. Then the 90s came along, and we were told that coral bleaching happened on the Great Barrier Reef from divers. Again, it was still misinformation and disinformation that the Great Barrier Reef was ever drilled for petroleum. Now, apparently climate change created that bleaching. And it was still disinformation and misinformation that we drilled the Great Barrier Reef for petroleum. A funny thing happened 2 years ago when they announced global boiling. 35 years after the first report on the Great Barrier Reef, they had the best coral that they have in 35 years. Is that because we stopped drilling it for petroleum? Is that because we stopped diving there? Was global warming and climate change and global boiling all over with? Stop lying to the Australian people. Start telling the truth. Your misinformation, disinformation bill gives you power to cover up more things, and Australians are fed up with the lies.
Waking up.
It's no wonder the myth of the bleaching of the Great Barrier Reef is continuing on, because I think if the Geese government's given about $1 billion to save the reef. So it's a lot of money to buy off a lot of people to continue the propaganda. $1 billion given to scientists that have to pretend the reef is dying. And it's been, whether it's oil or it's just a natural occurrence. But there are scientists that have been studying the reef for a long time that have seen the bleaching, the reef comes back, it bleaches, it comes back. But now you've got $1 billion paid to scientists that only get funding if they say the reef is dying. Well, but guess what? Results we're going to get. Not really that passionate about it.
Fair enough.
But I'll get on something else.
So, still on climate change, because the climate always changes. But
Misinformation.
our government has admitted that they cloud seed to create more rain and they weather manipulate. Yet when they do this, at the same time they're talking about climate change. Stop manipulating our weather. Stop the weather manipulation and let this planet do what it's always done.
All science, not interfere with nature.
So back on the misinformation, disinformation. When I grew up in the 80s, 90s, back in the 80s, it was misinformation and disinformation. It was a flat out lie that there was a pedophile ring happening within the Catholic Church. That that lie and that cover-up by our government has been exposed in the last 5 years with the Royal Commission into institutional child sex abuse. Why is our government allowed to control what is truth? They could have protected so many children.
They're pedophiles.
Back in 1995 to 1997, there was a Royal Commission into police corruption, integrity. Catalogued with that was the Wood Royal Commission. A police document appeared from that. The then Bill Heffernan requested to the Parliament that 28 names of alleged pedophiles sitting within our government, our judicial system, top of our police, and even a Prime Minister on the list of alleged Prime Ministers, he requested those names to be released to the public. It has been 30 years, and the time is now to have that document released so the Australian people who know who their orders are coming from.